Willkommen zurück auf der Mainstage der Austria Comic Con 2021. Wir haben jetzt tatsächlich ein ganz besonders interessantes Panel für euch. Nachdem wir schon einige Schauspieler aus Serien, Filmen hier auf der Bühne hatten, haben wir jetzt zum ersten Mal zwei Comiczeichner hier bei mir sitzen. Und auf die beiden freue ich mich ganz besonders. Ladies and Gentlemen, Lee Townsend and Dave Long. Please join me for some rambling. And actually, I really have to begin rambling because I think the first comic artwork that I can remember is actually your work. Because when I looked at your website, you drew the mascots and the box art for the Cocoa Pops and Honey Snacks, which I, as a kid.
Yeah, I know a lot of people mentioned that.
Yeah.
But I know I did I worked on I did the animation for the commercial, for the TV.
Did you have something like the Kellogg said, okay, you have to draw this and this and that and that? And were these your 100% original creations?
No, I didn't create anything. They were like model sheets that you followed. So I had like, on my desk there'd be all different poses of the character, and I just had to get it on model when we did the animation for it. But yeah, we did Honey Snacks and the Cocoa Pops commercial.
That is great, because this is usually with every creative person. One of the first things that pops in my head is why? What were the inspirations? What were things going on in both your younger years that said, I want to do this, I want to draw? Who were the...
I think for me it was all about, as a child, moving a lot. From Austria to Ireland to South Africa, I didn't really have friends, not a lot of them. And comics kind of became my friends. They were the dependents, I also as a kid saw myself in these guys, like Spider-Man was a huge one for me, I wanted to be that teenager that got bitten by a radioactive spider and, could shoot webs and swing, So for me, it was very personal. And then when I started drawing as a kid, I was drawing Spider-Man, the Fantastic Four, Superman. So that's where the catalyst, where everything began.
Yeah, well, I mean, mine's kind of similar. I was always drawing as a kid, and just kept drawing all the time. I'd come home from school and draw, shut myself in a room and just, didn't really mix that well with people at the time. I just did a lot of drawing. And then one year my parents bought me a Batman annual for Christmas. So that was the first sort of character. Batman was the first character I saw. And then the following year was a Marvel annual with all different stories of the Spider-Man, the Hulk, the Avengers and the X-Men. And that was like a turning point for me really, because I love reading the stories. The early Spider-Man stories are really good. And just connected and just wanted to draw comics, So that's how it kind of started really. But I've always loved drawing, everything really, from being when I was really young. So
I think it's such an inspiring story, you have to say, because there are so many people who like to draw, who are really amazing artists, and I myself discover new talent each and every day. And I just recall this thing from the old Dagobert Duck cartoons that I liked, is that he had behind glass, hit the first dollar that he earned himself. And I was just wondering, do you still know or even have a copy of the first piece that you sold, the first drawing that you sold, and what it was?
When I first published, my first published comic strip, I used to do a lot of children's comics, and it was just a one-page, 4-panel story, and I kind of was rushing to the newsagents every week to see when was coming out. And it took about 5 months from the time I actually did the artwork to, to see that. So yeah, that was my first. I always remember the first one, but yeah, it was like the start of things really. But I kind of remember that. I'm not sure the first sort of commission and stuff I sold. People used to do like drawings for families and stuff and friends, but the first comic strip, I remember that.
Well, I used to do illustration for various magazines, so internal illustrations for Longevity and a few others, and the company I was with got the rights to publish a DC fan experience, and so that's pretty much where I started beginning, and it was with Batman. That was my first professional piece that I was actually paid for. There were 6 pages, and then as you turn the page, there were like crossword puzzles or little mazes. It was like a kid's activity book. The first commission piece, man, I've been drawing since like I was 14, so I can't think of anything there.
So 5 years.
Yeah, for 5 years. This is what happens when you're 19 years old and been in comics for 5 years. You look like this.
But honestly, who is your personal favorite character to draw of all time? Nobody wants to go first.
That's okay. The one that means a lot to me is T'Challa, the Black Panther. Growing up in South Africa, you kind of, in apartheid South Africa, you weren't allowed to own these comics. A proud black person that is empowered is not what the South African government at the time wanted you to read or be reading. So I'm very much connected to him because he is a symbol of freedom. He did take on the KKK. He stands for human rights. I love drawing Batman. I think he's one of my personal favorites to draw. I also love my villains and anti-heroes. So, Venom is always fun. Yeah, Goblin or Galactus.
My favourite character is Spider-Man as a character. Drawing probably Batman, I would guess, because it's probably the first character I ever saw, so it's probably my favourite to draw. But yeah, like Venom and the Hulk are 2 great characters as well. Yeah, I mean, that's to say Spider-Man's my favourite. It's a sort of, I think I related to him more than any other character reading the comics as a kid, because it's kind of more like real life, all these problems at school and that sort of stuff, which I sort of connected to. So it's probably Spider-Man, yeah.
And the other thing that I always wonder, I know it's a very stupid question, because I know the answer can be 5 minutes to 500 hours, but still, in theory, the average drawing, let's say an A4 drawing of a cover art, how long does that take from first idea to finished painting, drawing? In what spheres do we move?
Well, I start off with a basic sketch, what's in my head, or what the client wants. So 99% of the time, you're told what to draw. Except on the variants, they're much easier, they're much more relaxed, but it has to go with the flow, of course. The cover has to promote what's going on inside the comic. It can quick sketch, and then layouts, and then thumbnails, and then that's a couple of hours, and then first set of pencils, and then obviously that's not good enough, or if there's a problem, and then redraw, and then ink stage, and then ink to color. If you're doing it all yourself, it could take anywhere from 30 to 100 hours.
Yep.
Yeah, it's the same, as similar thing really, kind of depend, like doing a rough layout thumbnail first, to get that approved, and then finish pencils. I don't colour much of my own stuff, so normally pencil and ink it, and to get a colourist to do the rest. So probably best part of a week, I would say, I guess. Yeah, depending on if there were changes and stuff like that. So.
And also it depends on the editors.
Yeah.
That's at the end of the day, if it doesn't make it past the editor, it's like going back to redrawing from nothing.
Yeah. And the other thing is, it definitely also depends on the material that you use. What is your personal favorite go-to way of making art? I mean, hand-drawn versus digital is one part, but also, is it pencils? Is it acrylic? Is it watercolors? I have seen amazing art.
Yeah. When we're doing comic work, I don't really do much digitally, really, to be honest. So it's all traditionally, but yeah, I like using Bristol boards, a really nice surface to draw on. But I do my roughs on sort of layout paper or just A4 photocopy paper. And then I'll put them into Photoshop, print like a blue line, maybe do some tighter pencils. And then the inks I ink on a separate page. So for comics, that's the normal way I sort of like to. I think most people kind of work that way, I guess.
Yeah, that's pretty much a standard.
Yeah.
I'm moving a lot more into mixed media, experimenting with different paint techniques, and just to keep myself fresh, to learn. We never, as an artist, you never know everything. You always learn, you always move, you have to keep sharp and you have to keep fresh. So I'm headed into mixed media and pencils, paints, oils, acrylics, it doesn't really matter. Whatever I feel the piece needs.
Yeah, it's the same for me, I think.
I am now giving you I call it a get out of jail free card, royalty-wise. So you could use this card and select any character from any publisher, any series, any run, whatever, and put him in any story, no editors, no hassle with anyone. You can draw exactly the book you want. With any existing characters, you can do whatever the hell you want with them. What would be in this book? You must have thought about this. Like, I imagine when you draw comics, you obviously will read a lot of comics as well. So you must have at some point thought, oh my God, I would love to see Batman do this.
Yeah. Well, it's a tough question, really. I mean, I'm a massive Jim Lee fan, so it'd be nice to see Jim Lee do some characters he's not drawn before. Yeah, I mean, well, I wouldn't mind seeing Jim Lee draw a Spider-Man story. That would be quite good. Or like, say, or Todd McFarlane draw. It's obviously not going to happen, but like a Marvel character or a DC character.
Well, I am working on something with someone. I am not at liberty to say anything, but he is a very beloved character from our childhood, from the 80s. I'm just not at liberty. But yeah, I've always wanted to take Asterix and Obelix and make it grunge. Like scarred up Asterix, scarred up Obelix, and make it a lot more real and dark. I'm talking, you know, black metal, Batman, dark.
Awesome. Oh, I'm sorry, I did not see you before. Please.
No problem. I will go further with the question from before and ask you how long will it take for a whole sketch with background and everything, and how long at the day you work on this?
It depends on the detail. If it's a A3, big one, with full backgrounds, depending on how detailed the client wants it. So if it's in, let's say it's Wonder Woman in the jungle with the Acropolis behind her, that's going to take 16, 20 hours.
And how long will you work for? Will you work the whole day, or you
I try and keep a routine. I wake up in the morning, I have my coffee, I have my breakfast. I then sit down at my desk and I work until lunchtime. I take an hour, I go outside, I walk. Especially now in Corona lockdown, it's very, very important to keep your body, your mind healthy, get outside. Then I go back, I work until about 5, I stop, I have some dinner, and then go back to work until about midnight.
I see, thank you.
Bitteschön.
So actually I have two questions. The first one is personal, because I'm kind of a creative person and I've always wondered how you get discovered as an artist. And
I don't know, I'm still waiting to get discovered.
No, but I was always wondering how you start your career and yeah, how do you attract people with your art?
Yeah, I mean, well, I consider myself quite lucky, but I kind of, because I think if you just keep drawing, and you know, try to pick an area that you're really interested in, and just try to focus on that, put 100% effort into that. I think that's really half the battle, I think. But I was really lucky because I always loved drawing and loved comics. I ended up going to a place called the London Cartoon Centre, which was run by David Lloyd, and Dave Gibbons used to do classes there. So I was very, very fortunate to have that start. And then from that, another kind of stroke of luck, DreamWorks were looking for artists, and I mean, I actually got my job in animation whilst I was at the Cartoon Centre. It's crazy because at this point, DreamWorks was called something else then. It was called something else, and they came to London looking for artists, and they went to the London Cartoon Centre and were looking through people's portfolios, and then I got selected for that. So it was pure luck, really.
Yeah.
But I think if you just work hard, I think that's the main thing, really.
Yeah, for me it was also just foot in the door, sending my portfolio all the time, sending examples. And it was a lot easier in that respect for us 20 years ago because we could send unsolicited artwork. Now, you try and do that with the major companies, they're just going to rip up your work. But also then a lot online, like deviant arts and stuff like that, which I really didn't pay much attention to. That's also another route. But for me, it was just right place, right time, and the right opportunity.
Yeah, I think sort of going back to what you said as well. What I did, I used to do my pencil samples, photocopy the samples, send them to every company, and I did that for about 3 or 4 years. I was pretty determined, really. But then this is like obviously before internet and stuff, so I just used to literally photocopy and send it to DC, Marvel, all those companies, really. So.
And Top Cow and
Top Cow. Yeah.
And hast du noch eine?
Thank you very much for your answers.
Yeah, you're welcome.
The second question is kind of funny. If you had to draw Batman together with Iron Man, how would they interact and how would you put them in a scene?
Have you seen the lady, the Lady and the Tramp? With the spaghetti? That's my answer.
I can't really top that, I don't think. I don't know. Maybe in some kind of, maybe like a kind of a gangster setting, maybe would be quite fun. Kind of a Goodfellas, stroke combination going on, maybe with Iron Man and Batman there. Maybe something like that would be quite good. Keep it nice and dark. Yeah.
Awesome. If there is one more question from the audience, we would have time. Otherwise, I would say thank you to all of you for coming to see this panel, but especially thank you to Lee Townsend, to Dave Lang for joining us. That's your applause.
Thank you very much. Wish you all a very good con.
Thank you.